Just waiting for the bar. Yep, there we go. Perfect. The recording is on. So welcome everybody to the very first of our meetups that is in the Vancouver Power BI and Modern Excel user group, and this one is actually in our Excel track. So we're pretty excited that Celia is joining us for the kickoff call on this one here. You know, thanks for coming and doing this. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to seeing a little bit about this particular topic as well. So. All right, let me just clear through the slides that I want to just make sure that we get covered before we kick it over to Celia here. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to just talk a little bit today's meetup. Obviously we've got Celia here. We've had a little bit of just some open chat, which was mainly between the two of us. But we're doing our welcome now, and we should be kicked into our feature presentation about 6:05 on Pacific time here. So. Big thanks to the sponsors that put this on, from Excel Guru and SkillWave. Excel Guru, of course, is my company. SkillWave is our training division that I run with Matt Allington and Miguel Escobar, where we actually focus on learning how to use things like Power Query and Power BI and things like that. If you're interested in learning more about some awesome training products, head over to skillwave.training, and we'd love to help you on your learning journey. Microsoft also, of course, helps us out along the way here, so I want to throw out an acknowledgement to them. Celia's meeting is obviously coming up right now, but I also want to just let you guys know about a couple of other sessions. The RSVPs are open already on our site for this. The next meetup is going to be the Power BI and Excel track. I'm going to be doing a hybrid here. We're going to be talking more about Power Query. It's going to be Emerging Magic, so that one's going to be me. Of course, because it's the Power BI track, we'll start with Joseph giving us our intro as to what's new in Power BI for the month first, and then I'll do the feature presentation after. And then in December, our Excel track, we're going to have my friend John Peltier coming, and he's going to be doing a presentation on thinking smart graphically and statistically. I'm pretty sure that there's going to be statistics, and I'm pretty sure there's going to be charts involved because I know John that well.
That's
so,
John.
Exactly. So, and on that note, I think, let me see, is there anything else I wanted to go through on this one? No, I think that's probably about what we've got for this one here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you take over the screen, Celia, and I'm going to mute myself and let you jump in and take over and do your thing here. So I'll be watching the chat. So if there are questions that come into the chat, I will just, be the disembodied head that comes on and let Celia know that she should check that out. So please feel free to ask questions as we go along. So.
Yes, and feel free to interrupt if you'd like. It's probably more interesting if we have a conversation along the way than leaving everything to the end. So if there's any questions that I can answer, I'll be glad to.
Perfect.
Thank you so much, Ken, for the invitation, for having me today. It's been very interesting to prepare for this topic because it is a very new topic. So I've been learning to present the topic to you, to everyone today. So let's see what I get here, what I have here. Let me present slide. So once again, thank you so much. Thank you for those of you who joined us today already, and let's get this going. We are going to talk about the new Power Query custom data types in Excel. I'm going to turn off my video to help with bandwidth if needed. Just a quick perspective of where we are. Here in Africa is where I was born, in Angola. Here in Portugal is where I was living most of my life until 2013. Here in Toronto is where I am now. I've been living here in Canada since 2013, and Vancouver, same country, but all the way in the other coast is where the meetup group and where Ken is, and where I am presenting today. So because of how global we are today, this is possible to be all over the place somehow. And just a little bit about me for those who don't know me yet. Like I said, I come from Portugal. I lived there most of my life. My background, academically speaking, is in mathematics. I have a master's in mathematics and in the education. And I was a high school teacher, mathematics high school teacher for almost 20 years there. Then in 2013, I moved to Canada with my husband and kids, and I started a lot of things from scratch, including my career. I didn't want to start a teacher's career from the zero again. So I just went and looked for other options. And long story short, Excel came into my life. I was using Excel for a long time, but not at a very deep level, let's say like that, or very advanced level. But I started to learn more Excel and VBA and ended up becoming an Excel consultant and a business solutions developer. That's what I do today. Solvent Excel is my company. And I'm certified as Excel expert, Microsoft trainer, and became an MVP just this past July. I also created a meetup group in Toronto for Excel. There was nothing here for the Excel community. So everyone is welcome to join us if you'd like. Sessions are online and free as well. So feel free to check that out. And about our session today, we are going to talk about the rich data types in Excel. See what has happened about that topic the past few short years. And then we are going to talk about the custom data types in Power Query. What are those and how we can create a custom data type in Power Query. We will talk about some details of this feature, create data type, and we will see some examples. So some disclosure and setting expectations, letting you know that data types in Power Query is a very new feature. So users are testing and learning, like I was and am. I was this past few weeks to bring this content for you today, and also for myself to be able to use the tool as soon as possible when applicable. And I want to say that there is already a lot of awesomeness available in here, but there is also a lot of improvements, a lot of development that is still needed. So this session will be a lot about that too. Not only to show what is done already, but also to show you a few things that still need improvements, or at least we don't know if those improvements are going to go that way, if Microsoft is going to decide to create those improvements or those extra features that I will tell you today that probably would be nice to have. And also letting you know that to fully understand all the examples, I am assuming that people already have some basic knowledge of Excel and Power Query as well. So because of, for the sake of time, I'm not going to explain all the little technical details about all the steps that we will need to take along the way. I think there's someone with the microphone on, or is it my impression? Okay, good. Thank you. So what are data types in Excel? So if we think about a type of data, let's call it like that, for the longest time, we had what we could call flat data types, two-dimensional. They were limited to the Excel grid. We could have text or we could have numbers in each cell. We could create formulas, and we had a little bit, maybe we could think about array formulas as a third dimension, if we want to think that the grid is two dimensions. thinking that inside a cell we could generate more than one value. We could generate an array of values with the array formulas, but we could not see them all at once. We could probably see just one of the first element with the array formulas, but we could make calculations with the result of the array formulas, or calculations with arrays. Then more recently, dynamic arrays and array functions came into Excel, and that made possible to have one formula in one cell that, if that formula generates more than one value, an array of values, those numbers spill outside of that one cell where the formula is, and it spills to the neighbor cells, depending on how we build the formula. There's an example here with a sequence formula or function. So that was an interesting thing happening, and that the dynamic array functions already brought a lot of new perspectives in the way how we can think of the solutions, how we can develop solutions with Excel. Then we also had data types in Excel, initially stocks and geography, and this then brings what I'm calling a third dimension to the spreadsheet. Because we can have, as we see here in the picture, we can have one word in the cell, but behind that word, when we identify that information as being a specific data type, in this case, a geography data type, we can bring other information about that piece of data. For example, Lisbon, we can bring information about administrative division, area, which country that city belongs to, and so on. So one cell only is displaying primarily one word or one value, but then using these icons, we can see a lot more information hidden behind that cell. So, and not only that, but this information, these data types are powered by Bing, and they are connected to live data sources, and so we can have updates on new information. Every time we have new information, we can update our spreadsheet and get that information updated. So that's another important step that happened with Excel functionality. More recently, more data types were added to Excel. They are still not available for everyone. The Wolfram data types, they are available for the Insiders beta program, and they bring us an amazing collection of different data types, like chemistry, space, you name it. So there's a few examples there in the picture, and more will come. This is still in preview, but those of you who have who are registered in the Insiders program may have these available already to try and play with it. And I believe there was, if someone is interested, there's one of the past recent sessions in this meetup group, Ken, I believe, was about the stocks data types and the Wolfram data types as well.
Yeah, we actually had Casey Anderson on from Microsoft that did a full presentation just on this kind of stuff, and you can actually find that on my YouTube channel. The responses there. So
exactly.
if you are looking for it, if you go back to the Vancouver Power BI meetup site and you scroll through the historical events, the link is posted there.
Yeah, so if you are interested, go ahead. It was a very good session, lots of fun going on there. Then the next step, what we want to have in Excel is what is showing on this GIF animated image picture. This is a demonstration made available by Microsoft that is demonstrating custom data types brought into Excel, but they are built in Power BI. So if you are a Power BI customer and you are able to create these data types in Power BI, I am not. I need to confess, I'm not a user of Power BI. Very limited user. I have very limited experience with Power BI. But this is one of the possibilities is to create a custom data type in Power BI, structure the data there, and then bring that structure already built in Power BI into Excel. And what that will allow us to do is an amazing thing, which is, for example, create our types of products, and then what is being demonstrated in the picture is we have names of products, and then we can identify them as a data type of our custom product data type. And with that, we will be able to extract information depending on the fields we have behind that data type. But we will see a little bit better what I mean with this. But the truth is, this type of functionality that we are seeing here is not available yet for data types created with Power Query in Excel. Hopefully, we will get there. So Power Query, data types in Power Query in Excel. The idea is that customers can
Celia, hello? I think we lost your audio.
Okay. Yeah. Hello?
You're back. All right, yeah. Cool.
Sorry. Somehow it said I'm muted here, but I'm not sure why. Anyways, did you, was I in this slide already when you stopped listening to me?
Yeah, well, when you stopped talking to us, you just started it, so you might want to start that one over.
Okay, so going to the data types in Power Query in Excel. So what's the idea behind this? The idea, again, like I was explaining for the Power BI data types, is we want to offer, or Microsoft wants to offer Excel users the ability to create their own data types. For example, as we have cities under geography data types, and we have cities, and behind the city we can have information like population, who's the mayor, what's the area, etc., etc. Why not have information about my products, for example, and I'll have a product ID, and I'll have a product description, I'll have a product price, for example, and other features of the product depending on what the industry is. So that's the idea. That's what we want to achieve with this new functionality. So the data types were announced in last May, and they have been available on the Insiders program, recently became available for all the users in the current channel preview, both personal and business accounts in Excel for Windows, and are currently rolling to the Power Query data types are rolling out to the current channel. So those of you who are in the current channel should have the new Power Query data types, if not already, anytime soon. And so this is the same thing. So we want to create a custom data types of any data source, like Power Query allows us to, Power Query allows us to connect Excel to many different sources, data sources, types of data sources. And we want to bring that information. If needed, we should be able to combine different pieces of information, and in the end, build our data type the way we need it. We need it to consumption, for consumption in our company, in our organizations. And the way the Power Query data types will be available for consumption will be through an Excel table. We will be able to see information in a card. Let me go back. And we'll be able to use that information as well in formulas. I was wondering if I have a data type here, a card showing here. No, then that's fine. I'll show you in a minute. I was just wondering if there was an example there. Okay, so let's go and see some examples. Let's go to Excel. So I brought two very simple examples. And the idea is to show what is possible already to do and what we are not able yet to do, and wish that soon we will be able. Let's see. So let's go. Going to show you one file here. So I have this file with 3 sets of data. It's called company data. And we have a sheet with employees, a sheet with stores, and a sheet with products. So very simple information. It's easier for us to see what's going on when we start manipulating these pieces of data. I will be using local files, Excel files, but again, Power Query, you can do the reasoning will be the same if you decide to bring information from the web, from a database, from CSV files or folders of files. So if you are,
Celia, can you just zoom in on your text just a little bit?
Sure.
For people, that'd be awesome. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for reminding me. And every time Zoom is needed, please let me know. I tend to forget. So go ahead and put in the chat, and Ken will be able to remind me. Okay, so this is the data we have. And now I'm going to show you another. I'm going to close this file for now. I'm going to show you another file, vacation. In this file, I have a small table where I'm entering, or this could also be information coming from outside of the file. It doesn't matter. But we have information about an employee ID and days of vacation they are claiming they want to take time off. So very small, a very small set of data. How could I use the information about employees? For example, here, when I see employee ID.
Can you zoom in a bit more again?
Sure. When I see employee ID, it's not very informative now. It's very rare that someone working at a company knows their employees, especially if the company has a considerable size. We don't know who is who just by the employee ID number. So we want to bring some information. Of course, we could do many other ways. We could use VLOOKUP. We could connect the file, bring the data about employees from the other file. There's a series of different ways of doing this. The purpose today is to see how we can create a data type and how useful that could be for us or not. So what I'm going to do now is connect to that previous file that I showed you, and we can go get data from file from workbook. And we can go to here and company data, and we will be given the different tables and sheets available in that file. I'm going to choose employee, the employees table. Should have clicked transform data, but I clicked double click by mistake. But anyways, here we are. And we have all that information available for the purpose of combining this information with the information on the vacation file. I don't need to bring all these columns. So I'm going to choose just employee ID, employee name. I'm going to hold control down, location and department. There's location here and there's department there. Okay. I'm going to right click and remove other columns. The change data type already applied here. The change type, change data type already applied here automatically. So let's just leave it like that. Employee ID, we could make it text, but there's no issue with maintaining it as a whole number for these examples. So just let us leave it like that. And I'm going to rename the query here. So instead of query employees one, just employees, and that's it. And now we are ready to create a data type. A data type will be a fusion, let's say like that, of different fields into just one column.
Hey, Celia.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering to get in more calls for zooming in on these things a bit. Yeah, if you can make sure it's really small on the side. Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, and I apologize for keeping forgetting about that. Yes, please do remind me. So is that okay? How you can see it now?
Yeah, I think that's better.
Okay. So we have these 4 columns. All of them are interesting for what I need. So I'm going to combine them into just one column that will be a data type, a custom data type. To do that, we go to transform. So for those of you who may not be so used to, we have the transform tab here. That's the one that I'm going to use. And inside the transform, we have this button, create data type. That's the one we are going to use, okay? So if I click one column, create data type, I get this window. Maybe, I'm not sure if you can see it well. Let's see if we can zoom in a little bit. And now, for now, let's go and use just the basic. Can you see this well enough? Or do you want me to maybe try?
Try just like yeah, I was just going to say with the standard magnifier, I know it's a bit awkward, but it might help.
I can try like this. So create data type. We have two options here, basic and advanced. So the basic information we need to enter is how am I going to I am going to call this new column that I'm going to create, and I'm going to call it, I think I chose employee. Yeah, chose employee, and I need to choose from, if I'm going to combine different columns into just one, I need to choose which one I want to be my display column. Because I only selected one column before I click the button create data type, I only have one column for display, one option for display column available here. But if I go here to advanced, let me see. Okay. If I go here to advanced, we can select all the other columns and add them all at once. We can decide, so the order in which the fields show here on the selected columns list is the order in which the fields will show up in our cart later when we have the data type ready. So I can choose to have it like this, or I can sort and reorder these a different way if I want to. And then if I wanted to, I also could now change a different display column for my data type. I'm going to choose the employee ID, although it's not the column that is more user-friendly, let's say like that, for the user to see as play, because it's easier to pick up from an employee name than an employee ID. But an employee name, if we have employee names, we could have duplicates. So we'll talk about the duplicates later. For now, I'm going to choose a display column, a column that I know that has unique values. So let's go and do OK. And with that, we created a new step here, created the data type, and we reduced. So we were in this step, we had 4 columns, and by doing the last step, we now have only 1 column. We have this symbol here, this icon indicating that this column is a custom data type. If we click in each one of the cells, not in the value, but just in the empty space inside the cell, we can see here below the information about available, in this case, 4 fields, the 4 columns that we had before that we condensed into just 1. And we have this button here that says extract, but for in truth, we don't want to extract anything, but I will show you what happens. If I'm going to extract, we go back to where we were. So we go back to plain columns, and we don't need that now. So I eliminated that last step, and we can now load this information. So let's go home, close and load 2, and new sheet. One table, new worksheet, that's fine, okay. So I'm going to zoom in again. So this is what we get, a separate, so we had our information about vacations here on sheet 1, and Power Query created a new sheet for us, now named after our query. I don't know what's going on with my Power Query, that it keeps me, it always shrinks these queries pane, but anyways. So what we have here, we have a column with employee ID numbers, and we have this icon. When we hover it, it kind of blinks. And if we click on it, it then shows us, let me zoom this for you. It shows us the card. And we see in that card the information in the same order as we chose when we were creating the data type. And the same, so now we can see it's a nice way to just click on it, and when you just want to take a peek at information. So that's nice to have. Another thing that you can do is we can use these icons that show here on the side of the fields, and if we say give me the employee name, we click plus there, and we now get a new table. So besides a new column, I mean, besides the column with the full data type in there, we still have the employee name there showing in the card, but we extracted a column of one of the fields, the employee name, to the table. We can do that if we want. There's also, the button also shows there, so we can add other information. That's another way of adding extra columns to our data type column and table, our query table. Going to go back, and one of the things that I see that it could be useful, that is nice with these data types, custom data types, is the possibility of condensing all the information into just one column, or it could be more than one column. In this case, it's just one. Sometimes we have the need of bringing information from the other files, and because of formulas, VLOOKUP formulas or other formulas that we have in our present file, we need to bring data from external sources physically into this second file where we are, so that we can use the data in our formulas. I can see this, for example, in templates, where I have an invoice template or a statement template, and I want to automatically fill in different fields, for example, contact information, using just the employee ID number, for example, and with that fill in different information about the employee with the formulas. Before, we would have to bring all the columns. It could be many columns. Now everything can be condensed, so that is nice to have. I think the next step would be to be able to load these as a connection only. But if we do that, we will not be able to see, we won't be able to see any information. So if I go here and load to only create connection, it's telling me that it's changing the place of where data is placed. That's fine. I have the data there, but I cannot use it. There's no way I can refer to it.
Celia, we've got a question for you from the chat. Sure. Here. So why do you only select some of the columns, since all the data is hidden on the spreadsheet anyway? Now, I don't know if that means that when you're actually selecting it generally in the when you're creating the data type. So Pat, if you can maybe clarify the bit, that would probably be helpful.
Yeah, so say that again, Ken.
So so when you're creating the data type, why do you only select some of the columns for the data type when everything gets hidden on the spreadsheet anyway when you load it?
No, it's only so I have maybe 10 columns or something like that for about the employee, and I only brought the 4 that I needed that I will need for this particular work here on the vacation. So I am on the vacation sheet, spreadsheet, vacation file or workbook, and the employee's data is on a separate file, and I brought only the fields.
But I think the question that Pat's sort of asking is, if you've got 10 fields that are actually inside Power Query, why not bring all 10 of them over and just have them there, and that way you can use them later if you want to and whatnot.
Yes, so you can choose to do that if you'd like, but then you will have, for example, when you are coming here to see some information, you will have a big card. Let me see if I can zoom in. Instead of having a nice clean 4 fields, in this case card, you will have a card that will in fact get you a scrolling bar here, and if you bring everything, you may end up having to be scrolling up and down to find information that is useful. So if all the columns are useful for you in the spreadsheet that you are working on, yes, please bring all the columns then. If that's not the case, then I think it's easier if we only bring what we need. And then if you later, for example, I can show you, let's say you decide, oh no, I also wanted to bring something else that I forgot. So we can come here to the step where we created the data type, to the gear wheel here, and go to advanced. And if I want to bring, now I would have to, I removed other columns. So let's say I wanted to also include the hire date. Okay, So now in this step, I will have one more column available. At the moment, this column is not included in the custom data type column. To do that, then I can come here to the gear wheel, to the advanced, and now I can add this information to our column. And when I load, then my card now will display. Zoom this a little bit for you. Now my card will display, it still shows, the card doesn't zoom in, still shows small. Let me go that way, maybe like that. So now I have the new information there. I think it's just a matter of options and choices depending on the situation. It's always best not to overload your, if I'm working with a very small data set, if you are working with thousands of rows, you definitely don't want to bring things that you don't need, because it will slow your queries, it will make your file bigger. So it's just a matter of choosing what's best in each situation. I hope I answered the question. Okay,
Yeah,
so,
I think so.
before we go and use this with our initial situation here, let's just build something here with the data type. Let's say I wanted to have an easy way to have a kind of a form, a search form to look up information about employees, and I wanted to use my data type column. Let's say I want to drop down. It could be on a different sheet, but I'm going to create that in this very same sheet, so that's easier for us. I wanted to have a drop down here where I could pick the ID, and with that see information displayed on my spreadsheet. So one of the ways we can do that is to select our column and go to formulas, name manager, and create a new data type. And the data type could, not the data type, a named range, and could be, for example, employee list, could be the name of this range, the named range. It refers to the column, to the table employee and the field employee, or sorry, in fact, let me show you. This is very small for you, probably. So it shows us the name of the table is employees, which is also the name of our query that brought the table to us for this, into this file. And employee is the name of the column where we have it, and is also the name of our data type. Okay. So I created the named range. Now I'm going to create here data validation. We can do that with these with the custom data types as well. So let's go to data and data validation. And in here, zoom in for you. Not working. Just a second, see if that works. Okay. Let's choose list. And if I don't remember, I can, the name of my list, I can press F3. I have employee list here, the name of my range, and employee list. Okay. So let's just have some color here to be easier for us to identify where our data type is. It's there. And now I see the different ID numbers here. And when I select C, notice that it comes with this icon telling me that this is not just a flat data entry, the number 1005. It's something richer. It's a rich data type. It will have information behind it. Okay, so let's see. Let's build our form here just very quickly with just the ranges that the fields that we have. We have name, location, and department. So the employee name, location, and department. How can I bring information from there? One of the ways is I can click here and I can choose employee name. It will create the information here on the side, and if we notice, it will it also creates a formula here at the top. Okay, so what I can do is I can just drag the formula and put it here where I need it. Another way of writing the formula is to go equal and then point to the cell where my rich data type is, and I don't even need to type the dots because it already came up, recognized that that's the data type behind that cell, or there's richer information behind that cell. I can, so this is location. I can just double click and I have my formula there, and I have the location for that employee. And another way, I can just refer to the cell. So it's, which cell is that? It's E2, so I can just go equal to E2. And again, it already recognizes the data type there, and I can select department there, and the dot is added to me for me automatically. It's indicating me that this is a subfield of the data type element, the element of the data type that I have on cell E2. Okay, so, and now we could have a form. Like I said, I could see these being used in statements and templates and things like that. We can just choose something from our drop-down menu, and we have the information changing. Okay, I want to notice that here we have this icon. So we are accessing information on the column custom data type that we have. If I only type 1011, I cannot come here and say dot, and I won't have any information. So because now this is not identified as something that an element of that data type, custom data type column. Okay, so going back to our vacation list that we had here on the other sheet, how can we have, what could we do then with our custom data type and all that information that we brought into this file? Let's say I wanted to have the name and I wanted to have the location available on this table. For every time I have a new request for vacation, I can easily identify the employee and where the employee is located. I can use formulas like XLOOKUP, for example. Oh, and I will have to zoom in for you. Okay, let's see if I can get this out of the way. So what am I looking to look up? Lookup value is in here. Okay, comma. What is my lookup array? Well, my lookup array is in the employees, and I can start typing employees, and it's a table. So employees table. Okay. Now, inside the employees table, we have a column that is a custom data type, and I have to access that column first. I need to tell Excel that I want to look at the custom data type. So I go and type in a square bracket, and I have a square bracket. No, sorry, just a second. Just a second. It's my, just a second. Sorry. It's my keyboard sometimes jumps outside of the Canadian or US English. Anyways, what's there? Never saw that. Okay, let's do that again. So let's go and have our formula now, and hopefully our square brackets will come up. So XLOOKUP, let me zoom. Okay. Okay. XLOOKUP, we want to look up this value, and where do we want to look that up? Inside the employees table. Okay. Inside that table, we have a column. So once we type the square bracket, I have different options that I can choose from that table. And what I want is the employee column, close square brackets. And I want to look up the employee ID number inside the custom data type column, but inside a specific field of that column, which is the employee. And for some reason, I couldn't figure out why the IntelliSense doesn't come out correctly for me here. I need to know that the field is employee ID. Okay. And now
Celia, I
ahead.
think that's why it's not yet in the current channel, is because of reasons like that. That's why this stuff is still all beta lock, because they got to work that stuff out. It's a disaster.
Yeah.
The IntelliSense right now.
Exactly. One of the videos, and I will give you. I will send a list of different resources that I used. One of the videos from Minda, she was doing a similar example, and she was having that IntelliSense, but for me, for some reason, it's not working correctly. Anyways, so let's go back. Okay, so what's the return array? The return array is exactly the same. It's similar. I'm going to go inside my table, employees, and I'm going to, inside my table, access my employee data type, custom data type. And inside that custom data type, I put a dot, and now I say I want to access the name employee name. But because employee name is a field with a space, this time I have to put it in between brackets because otherwise it won't work. Okay. And comma, if not found, doesn't matter in this case, and an exact match, and the other option, the last argument is also optional. I don't need it. So, and I have an error. So what's going on here? So
you missed an O in employee name.
Oh, thank you. I do that a lot. Let's see. There we go. Thank you. So that's how we can. So as you see, we can use the custom data types inside formulas as long as we are able to understand. We can we know the way we need to write information, the different fields, enter the fields in our formula. To return the location, I just need to replace employee name. So I did a copy of the formula, and now location, I don't need the square brackets because location doesn't have spaces in between in the name field. So there we go. Let me take this out of the way. So we have, that's a way, another way we can use the custom data types is by using them, the different fields inside formulas. Is this very useful instead of doing a VLOOKUP or an XLOOKUP as we were using, we were doing before? I think that only if you are in a situation where we would have a lot of columns and with many rows, and you don't want to bring all that heavy structure inside your file, inside your sheet workbook, then it's useful to have that all condensed into just one column.
Celia, we got a question from Santosh asking why is there a space in between some of the stuff and not some of the others? So one of the formulas has a space in between square brackets and one doesn't. So what was that?
So, okay, so if we go to our, let me zoom in again. If we go here, we can see that this field has a space there. right? Employee space name. This field doesn't have a space. It was just the way the columns were created when I brought the data from the other file. I could have chosen to change the column names so that all the fields were one word, one string only without spaces in the middle. And that would facilitate would make my life easier now typing in the formulas, because that way all the fields could go without square brackets. So in this case, I don't need to use square bracket when I'm referring to this field. When I'm referring to this one, because there's a space here, I need to put it inside the square bracket, because otherwise, if I put employee space name, then Excel will think the field name, or the field name will end here. It will think employee, stop, space, you are going for something different now. So when there's a space, we need to put in square brackets. When there's no spaces, we can avoid the square brackets.
Cool. Santosh has
Okay.
said that he appreciates that. That's awesome.
Okay.
And Henry's got a question. Can you have calculated fields inside the data type for a condensed table, so you don't have to, or so you can define the formulas once, not for each record?
Yeah, that's a good question. I was going to show you. I see that I'm running out of time very quickly. But the answer, so I don't know what you prefer me to do. If you want me to take a little bit longer, or if I can just summarize very quickly. How much time do I have left? 10
You know what?
minutes?
There's no one standing outside my office needing the room, so you take what you want.
Okay, but I don't want. I know that it's getting late for a lot of people. So okay, so that's one of the things. The point here is we can use it in formulas. We can take a peek into the cards, and we can refer to individual values of our custom data type, directly indicating just the field, and we get the corresponding value extracted. Okay, so let's close this. I don't need to save that. And let's do another example. So now I have, going to show you another file here. I have sales information. On another file, I have sales with, let me zoom this. I have the dates, and the sales information comes with date, store ID, sales rep with the employee number, the product ID, so the product code, and the quantity. So it's not very informative unless you have a very good memory to memorize all the codes. It's very precise. Since all the codes are unique, the information is precise, but it's not explicit. So it's difficult to interpret this information. So what I'm looking for is to build something that helps me make sense out of that information that I have on the sales report. So the question is, okay, now I have the ability to create this, these custom data types. I have a piece of information. I have information about, and I just opened the file that has already some work there done. So if you go to data queries and connections, and again, this bug keeps happening to me here. If we, let me zoom this for you. Oh goodness. Something is, I don't have any code. I mean, the code is Power Query. I don't have any, but it never happened before. I don't know what's going on with that error. Okay, let's put this aside. So we have these 4 queries already built in this file. the one that is bringing the information from that sales data file that I showed you. And the other ones are bringing information about employees, products, and stores. And these are the three tables that we have in that first file, that one previous file that I showed you, the company data file that has 3 tables with this information. Okay. So the challenge here, or the exercise here, is to try to find ways of connecting these pieces of information while using custom data types at the same time. So for those of you who use Power Pivot, we don't need the custom data types at all, right? We can bring the different tables, then we create relationships between the tables, and the lookup tables, which are the dimension tables, and we have our facts table that would be the sales data, and we can connect those pieces of information and maybe create some formulas with DAX if we need to, etc. But the exercise now is, okay, we have this new feature, the custom data types. How could I make some use of that? Is that useful for me or not? So the first thing I thought was, okay, can I create a data type and add that data type to the data model? Can I use the data model? So let's try to create a data type with products. I'm going to double click here, edit the query products. We already connected to the table where the products were. I brought the information, 3 tables, and I want to create a data type with this. Another way of creating the data type is to select all the columns at once. Not only that, but also if I want to choose the order in which the fields will show in the card when I'm selecting the columns, instead of just selecting them all like I did, I could say, well, I want to see the description at the top, and then I want to see the price, and then the product ID can come at the bottom. So if I select the columns in the order that I want, and then I go to transform, create data type, what we can see here is that if we go to advanced, okay, let me show advanced. If we go to advanced, we see that the columns are already selected here, so I don't have to be selecting and adding, and they are already sorted: description at the top, price, and product ID at the bottom, the same order I used when selected the columns. For this data type, I'm going to choose doesn't matter, because let's see, product, and the description, I want to use the product ID. Okay, let's do okay. So I have my data type created here. Let's go home. Let's load this, close and load. Because the query was built already, and it was built as connection only, that's how it was loaded now. But we can come here and do load to. We can do load to a table and add this to the data model. Let's try this and see what happens. Well, what happens is that I only get one column, and the column is not really a rich, it's not a rich data type. It doesn't contain rich data type. I only have the one field, product, with the product code, and that's it. So not good. If we go to products and go to load to and uncheck here where we have, oops, sorry, too much zoom, sorry, Windows escape, okay, let's try that again. Next time I need to use another monitor, because this one is not a good option. So if I uncheck here, still it's telling me that I'm making modifications to my data model, blah, blah, blah. Okay, no worries about that. So now rich data type came back. So if I have a custom data type, but then I load it to the data model, I lose the rich data type functionality. So using data type, it's not an option for now. Another option could be, can I bring this and now create a query? Let's see, I wanted to try that. Let's say I wanted to try that. Create a query from this table. If I go select the table and go data, and from table range, doesn't work either. So I cannot select it. I cannot create a query directly from that table this way. I will get errors. It doesn't work. So let's discard this. But what I can do is to create a reference to this. So product, it's that table, generates that table. And now I could, if I wanted to, create. So go here and choose reference. So I started a new query. I could give it another name or whatever. And here, source, it's referring to my previous query products, and it brought all the information as a rich data type. So if I click in one of the cells, I can see that the information behind each one of the cells is available. So I can create a reference to other queries that generated custom data types. So that's another thing that we can learn today. What about merging a query with another query? Merging a query that has data type with another query. So I'm going to close this one. That could be another thing that I could try. So let's say I am on the sales, and I want to bring information about the product, and I go, okay, I can go and come here to merge. And here I want to say merge with the query that generated the products data type. And when I do that, what happens is that we don't have any fields available. So although those fields are available in Power Query, when we refer to the query, they are not visible or available for us to choose. For example, to create a relationship between the product ID column here with the product code or the product ID field that I have on that custom data type. So this is not available, not an option at the moment either. So let's close. Not a good way. So doing all these tries, the only conclusion that we get is the only way, if I want to use custom data types in Power Query and I want to be able to relate the three different pieces of information, the only way to do that is to combine all the queries into one big fat table. So what we always avoid doing with when we are using Power Pivot and we have the ability and the option to connect different tables, we cannot avoid that if we want to use the custom data types. So I'm going to close this, and what I'm going to skip ahead because we don't have time. I'm going to start with another file that already has all the merges done. So I started with, I built this big table. Big, it's an expression, right? But for this example, so data, queries, and connections. And I have a new query here called sales report that generated this table. And this report was built, I'm going to show you the steps, was built by merging, doing consecutive merges of the different pieces of information. So I started with the sales data and merged that with the employees table and brought in the employee ID or the employee ID was the connection between the two queries, and then I extracted the employee name only. Then I merged again this past table with the table with store ID, store information, and I extracted the location, state, and store manager. And then I merged again with the products table and expanded the fields color, price, product, and size. And then I just reordered my columns so that I could have different, the related fields together and easier to work with. So what we can do now, we can create data types from several different sets of columns. So for example, I can create a product data type, selecting product ID, product, size, and price. And these are the fields with information about each product. So now I can come to the Transform tab where the Create Data Type button is. And again, everything is, I already selected the way I want it, so I don't need to worry about that. I just need to create a name for it. I'm going to try, what happens if I put product? Notice that, oh, I didn't delete that, product. Notice that I already have a column with product name with the same name. And the display, I'm going to use the product that gives me the product name. Okay, let's do this. Do you want me to zoom in a little bit? So this is the options that I'm selecting at the moment. Okay, let's do okay. And I condensed all the columns that I selected into just one column, but notice that it generated for me product.1 instead of just product because of that circumstance that I told you. We already had a field named product. So what we need to do is maybe come here to our formula bar, and we can amend the code here and maybe call products, for example. If we do that, that will work, and we don't have to deal with that point one that it's not nice to have. So let's go and do a data type for the stores: store ID, location, state, and store manager. Create data type. Let's call it stores, and display ID could be the location that is the name of the store: Austin store, Dallas store, etc. So that's a user-friendly field. And finally, we can create a third data type with these two last columns for about employees. So select the columns, create data type, and we can call it employees or employee. And we can And we can choose as display column the employee name column. Let's go. Okay. So this is a much nicer view now of our data, because instead of, I don't know how many columns we had before, now we have only 5 columns. Okay. So close and load, home, close and load. And now it condenses. So this is not necessarily a very good example, because for this demonstration, I didn't bring a data set with many columns, just to be easier for us to manipulate today. But in a situation where we have 30 columns, and being able to reduce those to just a few columns could be very useful for whoever needs to consume this data. So about the calculated fields that we're asking before. If I want to calculate the sales amount, I would have the quantity times the product price, right? If we try to do that directly in Power Query, we could come to add column, custom column. Let me put this bigger. Oh, sorry, that doesn't work. Let me zoom in, maybe. Okay. So add column, custom column, and that doesn't help either. Would that help if I do like this? No. So you need to go and you need to believe what I'm reporting. So custom column. Oh, there's a bug here. Let me close this and try again.
Must be getting late. You broke Excel.
Yeah, it's too tired. Let's do again. So add column, custom column. And let's say I wanted to calculate an amount that would be the quantity, but as you see, I don't have, now I would want to have, I have the products, rich data available here, but I don't have the fields behind the product's custom data type available for me to use in the formula. So I cannot create a calculated column here directly. At the moment is not possible yet. Directly in Power Query, I cannot do that. But I can do that here, amount, and I can go equal to quantity times, and now I can refer to the products, and I have now I already have the IntelliSense there helping me, or maybe not, because I now clicked on Zoom. Now I have the different fields available here, and I can choose the price. Double click, enter, and I can have the calculation here, but not in Power Query. Another interesting thing about these columns is that we can sort by fields that are hidden. For example, or sort and filter. Let's try filter. Let's say, for example, I wanted to just see products that are size M. So I come to the, let me do again. I come to the filter button, and now here at the top, I have an extra field here. Select the field. By default is the display value there, but I could say, oh, I want to see only size M products, for example. So once I select, then I have the options available. So the values for that field. I go OK. I get the table sorted only by size M. And if I want to check that, I can come here, for example, click in products. Oh my goodness, I don't know what that is. I tell you, I never saw that. Products, if I click here and then I have this button here, this with a plus sign there, I get the different fields available for products. So if I go size, I can see that everything is size medium as I chose. What else? The same thing, for example, employee, I could come here, display value, and I could choose different employee name. But notice that I get a bunch of different names, and let's say, let me choose just one. It doesn't give me anything. And the reason is because I'm getting all the names. So these options here are not being updated according to my previous filter. So I need, if I want to do a second filter, I need to pay attention. Okay, I have Garrison Cooper, for example. So I can come choose the employee name there, and then Garrison, I know that is part of this set of data, and then I can have the data sorted like that, filtered by that employee name. So that's another feature that we have available. Same thing for let's say I wanted to sort by amount. I could come here, anywhere in the table, and or even here. No, sort by amount is not a good idea. Sort by quantity. I'm trying to find something to sort by store alphabetically. So if I want to sort by location from A to Z, now I get, so the idea is that even if the field is not visible in my table, I can choose different subfields of each one of the data type columns and use those fields to sort and to filter. What else? Finally, almost finishing here, and thank you for your patience. Just wanted to call your attention that if I want to create a pivot table from here, if I want to create a pivot table from this table, okay, new worksheet, that's okay. The fields that I get available for my pivot table are only the fields that are visible currently in my table, even if they are available as a rich data type, like a subfield, let's call it like that. They are not visible or available here to use in the data type, in the pivot table. So if I wanted to go, for example, and do a report by stores and then products, and now I wanted to use the size of the product as a sub reporting field here, what I have to do is to go back to my table, and where I have the products, I can add, oh, instead size is available there already. So let's say, so let me go back here, sorry. What do we have available here? We have size already available, so we could bring it. But if I wanted the color as well, I don't have it available. So that I would have to come here and extract that information first. So I can use this icon here and say, for example, color. And now going back to my pivot table, I can do refresh. I don't have it available right away. I don't have that available there right away. I need to come here and refresh first. And now color becomes available here. And I could, if I wanted, I could bring that to my rows as well. And finally, I could bring the amount to the values, for example. And I have my pivot table. Now I could fix the layout and all that as needed. So that's about it for examples. As going back to the PowerPoint as final conclusions. So here, final notes. I think the tool, the concept itself is amazing. There's a lot of potential there. Let me know what you think. We can discuss that in a few minutes. It still needs development. There's a lot of things, as I mentioned, that still needs some thought. For example, being able to allow loading as create connection only. Why having to have a column if I could not have anything there? I could just know that, like when we have a data model, that the data is there and we can use it. We don't need to see it. Allow to mark flat data in a spreadsheet. For example, I have the employee number. I type the employee number in one cell, just a flat text kind of data, and being able to mark that as a custom data type value and then extract information from there, like it's possible apparently with custom data types coming from Power BI. Make invisible fields available for pivot tables in query merges, for example, calculated columns in Power Query, and improve cart features. For example, allow to define, if I want to define a format, currency format for the price, for example, I haven't seen that anywhere available. And also being able to display images. If we have product images, it's not possible yet with these Power Query data types. And that's it. These are the resources. I can make this file available for you, and you can check all these resources from different creators, content creators, and also from Microsoft. And there's my contact information. I have a YouTube channel that I'm trying to put more content in there, and I will dedicate most of my attention to Power Query. That's what I am more interested now. So feel free to subscribe and to check the channel and see if there's something there that is useful for you. Let me know. I would be glad to hear from you. And thank you so much, Ken, for having me and for your patience. I've gone a little bit behind the time.
Thanks for coming and doing this. This was awesome. I quite enjoyed it. I got one more thing I want you to add to your list of features if you're going to be talking to Microsoft about this, because it's better if they hear it from more than just me. I'd like the ability to actually nest multiple Excel data types together. So you can go in and you can create a table that has two individual columns of rich data types. But if you try and roll those up into one column so that they're two children data type, that doesn't work.
Oh, that's interesting.
Which is kind of a shame.
So combine.
Yeah, combine and have them as children objects, right?
Yeah, so combine two or more data types.
Because I know in the conversation that was going on the side, it was a very active chat today with a lot of sort of question back and forth just with certain pieces, and that was one of the things that sort of came up is, can we use this like instead of the data model, land it to a worksheet or whatnot? But unfortunately, you're stuck to putting out a big flat table with all these compressed things.
At the moment, that's what it seems. Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's neat, but there's still some work to do on it. Is my sort of impression there. So
it's a good starting point, I would say. Yep. And now that we have the ability to continuously give feedback to the Microsoft team, and they are also always continuously improving the tool. Before they were updating the tool every 3 years or so, and we needed to wait all that time. And now it's different, so things can evolve slowly. So I think there's hope to see a better functionality.
Oh yeah, and I mean,
not too far away from now.
Keeping in mind with this too, I mean, they're changing the entire way that the actual spreadsheet grid is working here. I mean, it used to be one cell, one data point, and
yes.
Now you're looking at going one cell has an entire worksheet within it. Holy crap! Like what's going on?
Yeah.
So It is, as Eric said, a revolution in the making. Absolutely. The problem
It
is it
is.
keeps on being a revolution every day we touch it, right? So, at
Yes.
any rate, but
And it's not
yeah.
easy to deal with that. I don't know about you, but I still struggle to remember that data is going to spill out.
Well,
and
yeah.
and
Like you say,
sometimes I cannot refer to this now this way anymore. I need to be more careful. Anyways, it's very interesting
yep.
to see the evolution.
Oh, it's neat. I mean, as I say, I wouldn't trade this for the old world in for a second. I mean, I love the fact that it keeps on changing and adding new stuff, but
For
sometimes it's
sure.
hard to wrap your head around what's going on, and then other
Yes, and
times
to
you look
keep
and
up
go,
with
why did
everything.
they do
Yeah,
that? So, at any rate, thanks again, Celia. I appreciate you
my
you
pleasure.
coming and doing our inaugural Excel session for this track. That is fantastic, and thank you everybody else for coming. I'm going to stop the recording here. I will be posting it up on my YouTube channel within a day or two, and I will post in the meetup thread that everybody signed up to, so you'll get a notification when it's up there and running. So, thanks very much for coming, folks, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bats.